representing the Ogun State American football team. My first game representing Nafa was organized by the SWA Sports at Abuja on May 2023. Due to my struggles trying to balance school and sporting activities, I wasn't able to attend several events, mostly trials. My first ever trial was in June 2024, which was the NFL Africa trials. I was selected amongst the ladies to be part of the NFL Africa. During this period, I took it upon myself to partake in various refereeing and coaching courses. Currently, I am a member of the officials of the Nigeria American Football Association. I've officiated in various games, just like the Nigerian Secondary School Flag Football League preliminaries. I also officiated at the Aketi Bowl too. I have coached several schools within Lagos, Ogun State, and Osun State. Last month, I participated in the Nigerian National Flag Football Tryouts, and I was selected amongst other athletes. To round this up, I'll leave you with this quote: success isn't given, it is earned through hard work, dedication, and relentless practice. Thank you.
Oh my God. Do you not love a smile, a confidence? Please, a round of applause for her. In fact, I'm just in love with her. And I can see it on all our faces also. Yes, it's the Nafa and the Brownsnigeria. They are really doing a very, very beautiful, fantastic work there. Okay, all right. Right now, I want to call on the panelists for the second panel session. And the first person I'm going to call is Niamaka Ayawu Silva. Niamaka Ayawu Silva, she's a former NCAA Division basketball player for Cornell University. Niamaka is the founder of SG Empowerment Foundation. She currently serves as the CEO and leads strategies of Infused Flavors and Lagos-based social enterprise, where she drives marketing strategy, partnerships, and innovation. Previously, as project manager of NBA Africa, Maka oversaw high-impact projects and product launches that advanced youth and community engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me to this podium Nne Amaka Ayawu Silva. A round of applause, please. The next person I'm going to call onto the podium is Honorable Elizabeth Idoko Okogun. She is a former varsity athlete and sports consultant. She is the special advisor to the Benue State Governor on Youth and Sports Development. Previously, she held leadership roles at Integral Temple Management, and she's a certified digital marketing professional. She holds credentials from Columbia University and Lagos Business School. Elizabeth is passionate about sports, finance, marketing, and community development through sports. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome with me here, Honorable Elizabeth Idoko Okogun. Okay. So I also have okay, please. Also want to call the third panelist here, Ife Dayo Durosimi Eti. Ife Dayo Durosimi Eti. She's an award-winning entrepreneur, author, and global leader with over a decade of experience across finance, marketing, and manufacturing. She's the founder of Hack Economy, a fintech platform focused on helping women grow wealth through high-yield savings community and financial education. All right. She has been honored by Advanced Media Global and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for her work on gender equality. She has spoken at Harvard. She's been named a Peace Scholar by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Please, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for her. Okay, the last but not least I want to call here is Debbie Larry Izamoje. Debbie Larry Izamoje is the CEO of Brilliant Media Group, Nigeria's pioneering sports radio and digital network, rising through the ranks to lead one of the country's most recognizable media brands. Debbie brings insight into media leadership, brand growth, and breaking barriers as a young woman in a male dominated space. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Debbie Larry Izamoje. Debbie Larry Izamoje. Please clap for her. And the chairman of this session is no other person than Mrs. Risola Abiola. She's a youth and gender advocate who works at the intersection of politics and civil society to promote equitable representation for marginalized groups. She is a public relations professional with work experience in public, private, and non-profit sectors. She has served in several capacities aimed at fostering civic engagement and promoting youth development. She currently serves as the Senior Special Assistant to the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on citizenship and leadership, working to promote civic education and youth leadership. Please give it up for Mrs. Risola Abiola. She's going to be the chairman of this session. I officially hand over this session to her. Please let's clap for her.
Hello, good afternoon again, everyone. And good afternoon to all the Amazons on my panel. I know you're all very capable women, so we have just 20 minutes to deliver this discussion. And I'm trusting you to come through for me, please. So I will start with Namaka. I really do hope that I pronounce everyone's names correctly. My first question, ma'am. How has your background as a collegiate athlete influenced the way you mentor young women through sports in Nigeria?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So yeah, I played sports all my life, and as a former Division I basketball player for Cornell University, um, my experience and my challenges have really helped me not just on the court but off the court. And it started with the two-a-days, the 5 in the morning, conditioning and weights, and after that, straight to class and exams. And then you're rounding up the day with a 3-hour, competitive practice, preparing for your competitions. So doing that year in and year out, it builds resilience, it builds determination, dedication, and it's those skills and that has helped me to also speak to young girls and their experiences, right? And their experience might be different, but even in those different experiences, you still breathe those attributes. Being able to be resilient, being able to be dedicated in whatever you're doing, focusing. So my experience has really helped me. And when I have the opportunity to speak to young girls and let them know that no matter where you're from or what you're dealing with, it is important to make sure that you're making decisions to pave the way for your future, and that every little decision that you make has an impact on what you want to be tomorrow.
That's actually very inspiring.
Thank you.
So on now, Honorable Elizabeth, what would you say are the most important business and leadership skills that female athletes need to learn to navigate today's sports industry?
Okay, I think female athletes need to go beyond the field. You need to learn negotiating skills. You need to learn how to make the right decision. You also need to learn to know how to value yourselves. Most times when we say value yourselves, a lot of people don't know how to do it. They just feel I'm empowered. I'm a big girl. it's in my head, things like that. But you actually need to sit down and know put numbers next to the value that you have, so that when anybody calls any number to you, you know how to counter it. You know the value you're adding to that team. So those, you need to pick up technical skills. You also need to have financial literacy, or else that will frustrate you as an athlete. I think that's enough for
Thank you
now.
very much. So key points, knowing your value. I always say, as women especially, you need to know your worth and then add tax. And then also financial literacy, that's very important as well. So on now to Ms. Ife. How can mentorship and strategic partnerships open doors for women aiming for executive roles in sports?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. In any career, mentorship, strategic partnerships is super, super important. But more importantly, for someone who is an athlete, in Nigeria, for example, especially for women, your circle is very, very small. You don't have too many people in that field. So it's important for you to always look out of your initial community, so that whenever you want to transition, it's easier for you. So I've seen people who are athletes, people who are in the creative space. And what happens is, a lot of times, according to research, your career sort of is very, I don't want to say short, but most times when you pass the age of like 40, 45, you start to think about other things that you can do. But if you haven't built relationships in other spaces, if you haven't built relationships with other people, it becomes very difficult. So it's important for you to start building relationships, start networking, start looking for mentors. In terms of like brand collaboration, look beyond just brands within the sports industry. If you are in sports, for example, you can partner with the Google. You can have mentorship. So, for example, Google has something called Google Hustle Academy. They have something called Google My Hustle. If you reach out to them to say, "Oh, I want to do X, Y, Z. I want to mentor the next generation of athletes," they'll most likely support you, because we don't have anybody doing that. And if you partner with an organization like Google, other organizations are also looking at you. They're seeing that you're looking beyond your immediate industry. You can partner with organizations like Nestle. So Milo is a brand. I'm sure Milo already even supports athletes and sports. But looking beyond your initial or the regular people that you will look towards, you're most likely going to stand out, and you're most likely going to get people who would want to collaborate with you. Thank you.
That's an excellent point. So we can summarize that as, moving outside of your comfort zone, engaging with stakeholders beyond your immediate industry. To Debbie now, as somebody who has risen through the ranks in media, especially in a competitive area like sports, what are some key leadership qualities that you believe are essential for women navigating leadership roles in competitive industries like media and sports?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Hi, girls. I'm looking at the girls. I'll be speaking to you people. For me, so for your age, if you're thinking of leadership in sports, what you have to do is you have to start planning from now. Most of the girls that you see, most of the women that you see that have risen in sports, most of us, it just happened to us, myself included. But what we try to do is we try to advocate for your generation to be sure that you go to the right schools, you get paid higher than us, you get respected, and it has to start from now. So from picking your courses to picking your mentors, if you see yourself being in leadership in sports in any way, have a plan, have a mentor, and come for events like this and actually listen, like don't fight sleep, like you actually have to listen, you have to take notes and have a vision for yourself, ask questions. When the panelists are done, go and meet them and say, you said this, you said that, you said this. How do I actually become like you? How do I become the next Ife? How do I become, the next person in sports? How can I be like you? So I'm going to be speaking to you people. Sorry about the women,
I'm sure the men are very understanding. As he for she's, they understand why the comments are directed at the leaders especially. So final comments now for everyone on the panel. Sorry, I really wish we had more time to talk. But final comments now. So Inama, I'm going to ask the question and then please summarize your final thoughts as well. What role does emotional and social development play in your leadership training for girls in sports? In just 3 minutes, please.
Sure. So yes, it is very imperative that young girls know how to deal with their emotions. It's okay to feel sometimes not feel okay. Maybe you're sad, maybe you're angry, or maybe you're going through something at home. Like it's your feelings are valid, but what's really important is how you channel those feelings, how you channel. Maybe you're upset, but can you channel that anger into power? And when I say power on the field, can you be focused? Can you still meet your targets and excel and perform on the field? So emotional intelligence is very important because people are always looking at you to level up, looking at you to be an example. So it's really important to learn skills to help you to channel your feelings into something positive. So I always like to say sometimes we all go through things where it's pain. It's really important to turn your pain into power.
Turn your pain into power. If you leave here with nothing, please leave here with that. Thank you so much. To Honorable Elizabeth, um, hmm, I'm trying to think of how to frame your final question. Okay, so what would you say from all the experience that you've garnered and also working in the public sector? What leadership gaps do you notice in women's sports and how can we bridge them? And when I say we, I mean like organizations like this and also those of us who happen to work from the policy making side of the table.
Okay, I think from my public sector point of view, the government cannot do it all. Private sector needs to collaborate with public sector. They need to marry. We need, but private sector, we need to design a framework that works across a very strong framework and a very strong strategy, and also make the space an enabling environment for all stakeholders in sports. I'm very happy to see the school sports chapter in the room, and I was very excited to hear what she had to say. One thing I think is also for all of you, what Debbie was saying, I'm just going into my final statement now. I've been in sports all my life. I schooled in Lagos. I was sports prefect of my secondary school. I went into, yes, I was sports prefect of my secondary school. I did everything from flag football to athletics to basketball to football. But I go into university, went into finance, and I spent majority of my career in finance. And God knows why He put me in finance, because I think He needed me to know how to value money. And I made up my mind after finance, I'm going into sports. And that's how I dived into sports. And sports is huge. And that's my advice to you ladies. Sports is the product. I need you to know that now. Sports is the product. The industry, you can be an accountant in sports. You can be an architect in sports. You can be a doctor in sports. You don't have to be the athlete all your life, please. So you cannot do it all. But I would advise you as athletes, coming from my own experience, I ran in university, 100 and 200 meters. Surround yourself with the right set of people. You cannot do it all. I always tell people you have 3 pillars as an athlete. 1, your support pillar, your family and friends. 2, your technical team, your coach and high performance consultants. 3, your administrative pillar, who will handle your marketing and image. Please take note of that, own it, and don't ever pretend you can do it all. You need that support, value other careers in the sports industry, explore them. So I think the government too has to make an enabling environment to make all those other careers come into place. Debbie is into media. I know Ife is into finance, and she's a former athlete, but we've all gone into different things. We all did sports in school, and we can talk to you today because we branched out. We went off field we've gone out of the field to create careers for ourselves. So don't stay on the field and dry up there. Thanks.
That's excellent advice. invest in developing your skills and also building the kind of team that you need to drive you to success. Now, Ife, what practical steps do you think can be taken to better support and prepare women for leadership positions in male-dominated fields like sports? In just 2 minutes, please.
So, for someone who wants to dominate that industry, I think it's very, very important for you to first do like a self-assessment. It's important for you to know your strengths, your weaknesses. It's important for you to understand how you can leverage that for success. Also, another thing that is very important in any career is also your image. I love what she spoke about. She said it's important for you to leverage the three pillars. She mentioned the three pillars, right? And the last pillar was the person who is going to be managing your image. Um, Building a brand. I see so many athletes who are not necessarily thinking about how they can build their own personal brands. They're just doing their own thing. I see the men actually building personal brands, but I don't really see the women actually building personal brands. The only athletes I can think of at the top of my head are people like Toby Amoshon. And for you to get to that point, you have to literally break a record. And there's so many people who are doing amazing things in sports who don't necessarily have to break records. So it's very, very important for you to build that personal brand, because what are you thinking about when you want to transition, when you want to think of when you want to transition your career? So when you've built a personal brand, it's easier for you to diversify. So for example, I like to tell stories because it's always relatable. Who knows Serena Williams here? We all know her, right? Fantastic woman. What is she doing now? Even though she was very, very successful in her tennis career, what has she done? She has a successful VC firm. She's also investing in not only sports, she's investing in other female businesses. She's even invested in businesses in Nigeria. And those businesses are actually doing well. I actually know one of the founders. What is her sister doing, Venus? She has an interior design firm. So you can actually do other things. The Rock is another good example. You guys all know The Rock. After his successful career in is it boxing or something? Yeah. Wrestling, yes. He went on to build a tequila brand, right? So you can leverage your brand. And he's also acting as well. We've all seen his movies, Fast and Furious, all of those things. Yeah. So there's so many things that you can do. You don't have to just stick to sports or stick to investing in sports. You can, while you're an athlete, you can still do other things. You can even be an influencer. Leverage that platform that you've built. Build your social media platforms from Instagram to LinkedIn to TikTok. All of these things work. Teach young people how to do all of these things, and trust me, you will dominate.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So I hope we're all noting the lessons. So Deb, final question. As a professional, especially in the media field, what advice would you give? There have been comments about image, personal branding. What practical steps would you give these young women regarding building an image for themselves?
Okay, the first thing you need to know is be very careful the friends you keep, because in building your image, you don't want to make mistakes that you have to clean up. It's more expensive. Even emotionally, it takes more. So don't think that, oh, you're young, there's time. No, be very careful. Whatever upbringing you have, remember it even when you're not at home. It's very, very, very important. Funny enough, it will help you in the workplace. It will help you in leadership, because emotional intelligence helps you as a leader in a male-dominated field. I'm telling you, there's so many times I want to lose it, and I remember what my mother said. So it's very important. That's the first thing I would say in terms of branding, because you don't want to do fake life where your offline image is very different from who you are online, right? Second of all, I would talk about mentorship, because of the level of the girls that I'm seeing in the room. Have mentors. I don't think you're at the stage where you have to have it all figured out, but you have to be close to people that can guide you to a place of figuring it out. In my industry, I'm usually the youngest in every room, and most times the only woman. And if there's another woman that is older than me, she knows me. Have respect. I think in Nigeria, the older women love to be called auntie, ma, mommy. When I moved back from UCL, Harvard, MIT. I was like, "Ah, why am I calling this person mom?" But I realized that ma will take you further than saying, yes, please. You understand what I'm saying? Call them ma. You would get through the door. They will call you and say, my daughter, that my daughter will help you move 10 years faster in your industry
Thank you.
than 10 minutes.
Thank you so much.
So-
Thank you so much. It's been a great discussion. I wish we had a lot more time, but please, I hope that everybody here remembers the gems that were shared during this discussion. Thank you all for listening.
Okay. All right. It was a very fantastic session. Please, okay, let's stay for the pictures. Oh my God. I think we're just who we are. We're Africans, right? And that's why we're unique. That's why we're just different. We're different and we're good. Are we good? Gentlemen of the press, waiting for you. We're good to go. Thank you. All right, please, a round of applause for them. Oh my God. I couldn't stop laughing when they call them Mars. Okay. All right, but it's just the truth. It's not because they love to be called Ma. That is our culture. That is who we are. Thank you very much. Okay, without further ado, we want to move on to the third panel session. And I promise my fantastic ladies here that we'll definitely go for a coffee break after this third session. Just a short coffee break. Okay, so the third panel session is focused on empowering futures, livelihoods, education, and social impact. It is focused on empowering futures, livelihoods, education, and social impact. And I'm going to call the, please, can we have one house? Thank you. And I'm going to call on the first panelist. The first panelist I'm going to call onto the podium for this session is Ugonna Ibe. Ugonna Ibe Ejiogu is a cultural strategist, curator, and environmental consultant working across arts, sustainability, and social impact. She is the founder of Yenwa Gallery, a platform dedicated to emerging and mid-career artists from Africa and diaspora. Please, ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Ugonna Ibe. I have to look back to see why loud chair in the building. Now I can see. Okay, welcome. I love the color black. All right, next. I beg your pardon, please. Okay. The next person I'm going to call onto the podium is Lolia Kenka. Lolia Kenka. She is a strategic builder at heart. She's a strategic builder at heart of business, teams, and communities with over a decade of experience spanning commercial top brands. She's led multi-million-dollar growth initiatives and built cross-functional teams from the ground up. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please, a round of applause for her. Also, I want to call to the podium Adesua Imaseka. Adesua Imaseka. She is a transformative executive with nearly 20 years of experience spanning investment management, development finance, and corporate strategy. As a group chief executive of Thai Corporation, she leads a pan-African conglomerate focused on energy transition, digital transformation, and inclusive social economic growth. Please, another round of applause for Adeswa Imaseka. And the chairman of this session, welcome with me, Ashley Lewis. Okay. Okay, before I call on Ashley Lewis, please 1 minute. I'm being told I have one other panelist. She is Olufunke Olumide. She's the managing partner at Legacy House, a multi-family office that focuses on ensuring that Africans build multi-generational wealth. Also, please welcome with me Ashley Lewis. Field and the members of her family play in the NFCL, CFL, and USFL. Relocating from the United States to the African continent 15 years ago, Ashley has applied her sports and investment expertise to the region. She is the managing partner and head of DPI Venture Capital, an African-focused fund. Please, a round of applause for Ashley Lewis. Thank you very much. Let me officially hand over the third panel session to Ashley Lewis. Thank you.
Wow, what a great introduction. Thank you so much. And I am thrilled to be with such great panelists today. And I really think that the last panel teed everything up perfectly for this discussion. And instead of getting into all of the long introductions and things like that, I really want to hear more about your stories and get to know you as women, because you see these great women that have done so much in their professional careers and industry. But I want to hear about the catalyst of sports, maybe from youth or your past experience, and maybe one story that sticks out in your mind of how you became this transformational woman. So feel free to maybe to start all the way at the end with the Desua. We're going to do a rapid fire round of a history of sports in your life, and then we're going to get into the panel.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Adeswa Maseka. I've been playing sports since the age of 7, actually, and I played all the way to a national level. So I did athletics. I was the first one in the relay. I did discus. I actually got the national record for discus, which was, I think, 32.42 meters. And I think till today, 25 years later, the record still stands. Wow. I also played county netball. I played county hockey. So sports is basically my life, right? I moved back to Nigeria 16 years ago, and I started coaching hockey, field hockey. A lot of people don't, know much about the sport, but it's actually one of our founding sports in Nigeria. So to me, as I mentioned, sports is everything. It's literally like how I built my career. And then one interesting story I can think about in sports is, for me, my whole entire family is like is really sporty. So there's a cup in our school, right? It's called the I think it's like the National Sports Cup, and every single person in my family has won that cup. So sometimes it's genetic. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So I think we have a bit more of a non-traditional entry into sports, but it has been a part of my life since I was a young girl, reluctantly. So I was not the person who wanted to do sports or wanted to run. I was always forced from primary school, high school, but there was some natural ability. So you have a coach that's like, no, you're good. You must run. I'm like, oh my God. But I never regretted it every time I did it. And I think that is like the energy and the beauty of sports, especially team sports. So I've played netball, I've played lacrosse, I've run, I've played flag football. And each time I'm so glad that I didn't push too hard to stay away from it. But I think that that's also something that I think back on, where it's not as though you must be born with the love of sports. You can find it along the way. And I think that I have. all the way through, the last few years, I played flag football in Lagos. I hadn't played sports in many years, and I came back and I met Ashley. And again, she convinced me to play flag football, which I had played, a couple of times in college, just, playing around with friends. But, that thread kind of continued, and I'm really glad I did. I think I played for 6 years in Lagos. So that would be my story.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll talk to the girls. Quick question. How many of you have watched King Richard, the Serena Venus movie? Yeah? That was my story, but just placed in Nigeria. Started playing tennis when I was 4. Lawn tennis, exactly. My father was my coach. My father was a national champion. Played it till I don't have a very extensive, sports experience in different types of sports. So lawn tennis focused. Played when I was 4. From 6 years old, was playing twice a day. Got permission from school to come late and leave early. College, got a scholarship to go to America. Played varsity, played NCAA, played on the ATP for a bit, came back, played on national team. Tennis. Everything I did for tennis, whether it was run track, swim, or play badminton, was for tennis. How does it tie into my life? Pretty much I came back almost right after school because I really just wanted to give back. I know it sounds a bit crazy, sounds very cliche, but that was the reason. I graduated on the 13th and I was back in Nigeria on the 14th. And I literally just started working with my dad to, make sure we have tournaments, as many opportunities for girls and boys in the lawn tennis space, because I saw what it did for me, not only from a soft skills point of view, but from a hard skills point of view as well. The opportunities, the jobs, the rooms I walked into was all because of the things I learned from tennis. So yeah, that's pretty much my story. Now I've created an app, and we're trying to just increase opportunities for everyone, especially women. Now, so yeah, amazing. Thank you.
All right. So my story is a bit different. I was raised seeing medals all over the house because my dad played ball, my mom ran all the way through to university level, and so the expectations were high. And their 3 children did not seem to want to do anything in the sports space. So I kept feeling like, are we failing our parents? We're not the sports ones, but every inter-house sport, our parents will come first for the parents' race, but the children were not participating in the sporting. So we were doing things like lime and spoon, all those funny sports, But I did see that being born into a family where my parents were very into sports, it sort of helped us to be very structured in how we were raised. I think that's what sports does. It helps you to be very structured. So there's a process to almost everything in my house because of how I believe sports helped my parents to be. And now I have a daughter who is an athlete, and I'm really rooting for her. So everything she's doing, I'm going there. Because since I couldn't do it, also for health reasons, the only thing I managed to do was walk race. 800 meters walk race. Yes, I got the gold medal, but for me, I said, at least I did something in school. Yeah, so sports helps with structure.
I love that. Thank you so much. Super inspiring. I'll share something quickly from my background. So I was born and raised in the US, as mentioned in the overview. I was literally almost born on a football field. My father was playing professional football, and 4 men in my family played between the NFL, the CFL, the USFL, and they all went on to have women, girls, and we were all trained as athletes. We were all taught the principles of sports, teamwork, competition, processing disappointments, losing, holding each other accountable. And in my career today, I work in venture capital, and I liken it a lot to the sports industry. If you think about professional football, about 1% of athletes make it from the collegiate level into the NFL, right? In venture capital, my industry, about 1% of companies succeed all the way to the top. And so the same kind of principles apply between finance, between sports. And I always go back to those foundational principles that I was taught as a young child. So going back into our topic today, livelihood, economic empowerment, I'd love actually to come back to you. And you are focused on generational wealth, how to instill financial principles in young women. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the foundations of your work and how it's impacting the community.
So I lead a multi-family office, and what we do essentially is that we are for African families. Our goal is that whatever an African builds outlives them. And so we always say that as an individual, you need to see yourself as an enterprise. You are a company. And I would say to our athletes that you are the CEO of your own life. And so because you're the CEO of your own life and you see yourself as an enterprise, which is what we say, what other things does a company need? A company would need what? A CFO. A company will need an operations team. You need to think of yourself that way. And that's what we say, that if you think of yourself that way, you would want to get a mentor. You would want to get a finance person to walk you through some structures. So what we always advocate for is that from a very early stage, build structures. See yourself beyond the field. What you have on the field is a gift, and it's just the door opening you up to so many opportunities. And so if you build structures like setting up a trust, which is what we do, we always advocate for setting up a trust, because we know that for sports people, the lifespan is a bit short. And then after that, that's on the field. And that's something that maybe the bias has been that, oh, your lifespan is short. And then you're sort of fidgeting towards the end of your field career. And I'll call it field career because after that, there's so much more you can do. Like you've gone ahead to, set up, work in finance, but there's so much more you can do. But if you set up all the structures early on, the funding that you've received from all the sporting years can be put into good use, can be put into investments, can be put into you going from being the sports person to being a coach, to financing the sports and so many more things. So that's what we advocate for, build structures from a very, very young age.
Fantastic. Ugonna, I'm coming to you next. So you're part of the creative economy. You are an art curator. You are a culture holder, I want to say. How are you seeing the intersection between the creative industry and sports? And in your work, how do you see that impact kind of evolving over time? And I would also say you're an entrepreneur. Like, what is the entrepreneurial experience?
Okay. So that's a lot. No, I think that there is a very obvious intersection between the creative industry and sports when it comes to storytelling. So you have the ability, and I think someone mentioned it on the last panel, building your brand, attracting attention to yourself, to your community, to your teammates. And I think that that is something that physical space. So archiving the work that athletes have done, which kind of leans into the entrepreneurial aspects of getting into art. Maybe you are an athlete, maybe you just are interested in getting into sports. Maybe you are an athlete, maybe you are interested in sports but not an athlete, and wondering, the different ways in which you can apply creativity is one way. You can do the storytelling for a team. You can do this, be a social media manager. You can do social impacts when it comes to the sports that you're doing and tell us about it. You can track the women in sports, historically, who are the women, and even currently, who are the women that are on our national teams. You can speak to women who may not be paying attention to blogs that men are hosting, but there are ways in which, if you are dissecting what's happening in the sports space for women to pay attention to, those things are actually important. There's some when it comes to finance, a lot of women pay attention to what women are saying about finance because it feels more relevant. So that's something that creativity brings into that. Just thinking creatively about the way in which you are involved in sports beyond just playing.
I love that. Adesoa, over to you. You've been at the intersection of sports, also education and innovation. How do we create ecosystems that not only empower girls, but also sustain them as they grow into leaders, especially in underserved communities, but even urban communities and larger communities? I'm just curious what your experience might have been.
Okay, thank you. So at Women Impacting Nigeria, which is a humanitarian organization I run, we actually have boot camps and training committees, right? Training communities where we teach the girls different skills. We also empower them with digital skills. Back to the what you were saying before. But I think it's also very important to recognize that sports and empowerment, 1 and 2, right? We see sports as a tool, right, to economic development, to national development, right? So if you actually listen to this panel and the panel beforehand, you'll see a similarity. Everybody's played sports, but where are they today, right? They're CEOs of their own companies. There's, C-levels of multinational companies. So there must be something in sports training, whether it's discipline, whether it's decision making, whether it's how to be emotionally intelligent, whether it's how to get along with your teammates, right? And strategy is so important, and that's a very key aspect of playing sports. So that's on the empowerment side. On the tech and technology and innovation side, we're actually building a new mobile network, which is launching Q1 next year. Right. So at Timer, I'm actually the first female in the history of Nigeria and ECOWAS to get a mobile license. And this license
need to give that a round of applause. Yes.
And this license and the driving force for doing this and trying to compete with MTN, Glo, Nine Mobile, and Airtel is because there's a development aspect that's missing, in how we see data today and how it's being utilized. And so many people are still left out, right? So how does this play with sports? We've also embedded like an ed tech and a sports tech technology into our platforms, whereby you can access like coaches, trainers, mentors, and it's all free, because that's what we're all about, development and impact.
Fantastic. Thank you. Lola, I'm coming to you next. So what I heard in your story was this evolution from athletes, then entrepreneur coming back and building a pipeline of talent. And then I heard a bit of technologist in there. I'd love to hear how you're kind of bringing all of that together and what you see as the future of tennis here in Nigeria as well.
Okay. There was a part of my story that I left out, and I think it's important to include. Yes, I came back. Yes, I've been working with my dad for the past 12 years. But then there was also a part, she spoke about structure. One of the things that I realized very early that I needed to get was knowledge. I needed to build a network. And then I needed to learn some corporate skills, right? If you're gonna build your own company, you need to learn from people who have successfully done that. So yes, I worked in the corporate world alongside doing all the other development work with my family. Worked in manufacturing, worked in tech, right? And worked in real estate as well. And then decided to do this full time on my own. Now, how all of this ties in, first of all, building that structure, you learn from people who already know a lot more than you and get those skills. You build your network. It's important. As I'm sitting on this panel, I'm just like, I need to know all of these women. Why don't I know all of these women personally? Building your network. Whether it's soft skills, whether it's information. I just learned so many things just now, from the hockey to all the different things that people are doing, building your network and increasing your exposure. Then the next thing is, what is your passion? For me, again, giving back has always been my passion. Sports has always been my passion. How do I put both of those things together? And that's essentially what birthed Game Day. Game Day is just a platform that allows again, like my fellow panelists have said, not every single person that plays a sport is going to get to the 1%, is the truth. Chances are most people will be at the 99, but then again, what do you do in that 99? Most of them are C-suites, most of them own companies. Most of us, let's say most of us, are doing things in our own individual spaces that are creating impact and bringing value not only to ourselves, but to other people as well, right? And because of that, most of us actually are still in sports. Some people are actually still coaching successfully, have built facilities that, encourage sporting activities. And that's really what birthed Game Day. Game Day is just a platform that allows everybody who is passionate about sports, everybody who has a sports skill. So whether you're a tennis coach, a football coach, a swimming coach, whatever it is, you can get on the platform and you immediately have access to people who want to learn a sport, right? Not only does that give you the opportunity for you to put yourself out there, visibility. One of the things some women have suffered or have not really gotten a grasp of is putting themselves out there, being at the forefront. I know our culture doesn't necessarily encourage us to be in front, but that's what sports does. You have to be, you are pushed to be a leader. And this platform allows you be at the forefront and in front of people who really already want to learn a sport already. So income, access, visibility. And I think that's what birthed that. It's a SaaS solution. It's a software as a service solution. So it's everywhere and it can be in any country and it's pretty much on your phone or your website, or on your web app, sorry. So that's pretty much how tech comes and it just creates access. It creates a platform for people who would ordinarily not have that platform in the first place.
Fantastic. We have only a few minutes left, and what I want to do is just a quick rapid fire response to for all of the panelists. What is your one piece of advice to a young woman or a young man here today in sports who wants to make an impact and earn a living doing what they love? I heard a lot about people making money, managing money, being entrepreneurial. What's that one piece of advice that you have for the audience today? Anybody? Yeah.
I think mine would just be a sentence, which is build structures, and build it early. You can't do it by yourself. I always use the example of a pregnant woman. She would need to go for antenatal because as much as she's the one carrying the baby, she needs the support of the medical team to help her through the journey. So you need a support system within that structure, from your mentor to your coach to the person managing your schedule and your nutrition. It's a whole team. So it's not just you. Never feel like you're alone. Build a structure around you and you go far.
Lovely.
I mean, I think I'll say never be afraid to fail forward. Put yourself out there. I mean, you never know until you try. Don't be afraid to fail. What's the worst that will happen? You won't succeed. But I mean, the best that could happen is that you do succeed. And then the sky is your beginning.
Okay, so I'm going to have a statement, but I'm also going to give you some ideas. So I think definitely experiment and research. What are people doing in the sports space? How are people making money in the sports space? And experiment, try things so you know what you like and what you're good at. You can be a photographer. You can be a sports photographer. You can exhibit your work as a fine art photographer whose focus is in sports. I mentioned before being a social media manager. You can manage other athletes. You can create content. People are monetizing content. What type of content is popular? What kind of content are you interested in? Whether it is giving us an update, a sports week roundup, something. Create that content, monetize your content. You can build some small teams in whatever sports you're interested in and still document that. That creates content. That can be something that is added to a much larger event. So I would say think through it. Don't think about anything. It doesn't have to be so outlandish. What are people doing? What are you good at? And how can you differentiate yourself in the space?
I'll keep it very quick. I know we're out of time. I would say focus on your craft, hone your skills. I think in whatever area of sports you want to play, whether you want to be an athlete, whether you want to be a coach, whether you want to go into the business of sports, I think you need to focus on your craft and be very disciplined and work very hard. Nothing in life comes easy, right? Whichever field you're going into, you're going to have to work hard, and that's just the bitter truth about it. So that's one. And the second advice I would give is to get a mentor, right? You can see everybody here on stage, and I keep on mentioning, like, a mentor is so important. You know, reach out to your communities, find somebody who's, you know, walked that path, you know, so they can also give back, help, and guide you. So those are the two things I would say. Thank you.
Fantastic. The last thing that I would say is stay curious. I've never seen somebody who is deeply embedded in their own curiosity that did not find a pathway to success. And today we've heard a lot about people using different pathways from sports into different fields. So thank you, ladies, for sharing your experience. I was really impressed by the amount of entrepreneurial nature on this platform today. So thank you. We'll hand it back over to the conference moderators and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, beautiful ladies. Please, let's stand up for photographs. Okay. All right, thank you. Please, let's give them a round of applause as they go down. Okay. Now is a good time. By my own clock here, it's 12:54. So I think with the permission of the organizers of this event, I want to, and the power that I have holding this mic, I want to cut off the coffee break for now. Oh, everybody's looking at me like, what's she saying? But she said she's going to have a coffee break. But I have something better. So right now, we're all going to have our lunch. I think it's better than coffee. Okay, so we're going to have a lunch break now. We have the ushers, the ladies in the t-shirts. You see them with the t-shirt, the Gridiron Gems t-shirt. They have the t-shirts on. One of them, please wave your hand. Okay. So any lady you see putting on a t-shirt with the Gridiron Gems t-shirt, please just follow them to where we're all going to have our lunch. But please, I have to lay emphasis on that. We're still on the event, and I still have something better after this lunch. So we're going to spend 20 minutes there, please. So by exactly 20 minutes after 1, let us be back to our seat here. Are we good to go? Please, let's make our meal snappy, because yes, now. So can we do that? Please, let's make our meal snappy, and let's reconverge at exactly 20 minutes after 1. Anyway, let me just remind everyone here that we're still on with this program. It is the official launch of the Gridiron Gems with a theme, She Hurdles, She Wins, empowering women through American football. And I still remain your host. I'm still the driver in front of the wheel of this event. And my name remains Yinka Kenny. Okay, people call me YK, and I'm a TV host with NTA2. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise up on your feet as we go have our lunch. Thank you very much. you.